Yes, we are connected now.
Okay, wonderful. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to Everyday Chant. We are fortunate to have His Grace Prema Rāsa Prabhuji from Mumbai, and Prabhuji will enlighten us on the 5th canto, chapter number 23rd and verse number 2. Heavenly Subterranean Planets is the title of the second 23rd chapter. Please go ahead, Prabhu, whenever you are ready. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. All the devotees, thank you so much for giving me opportunity to serve once again. So we'll be discussing today verse number from the 5th canto, 24th chapter, 21st verse. Let me share the screen also. Are you all able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. So we can start now.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So reading from the 5th canto, 24th chapter, 21st verse. Tad bhaktanam atmavatam sarvesham atmani atmada atmata yaiva. So synonyms. Tad, that bhaktanam of great devotees, atmavatam of self-realized persons like Sanaka and Sanatan, sarvesham of all, atmani to the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the soul, atmade who gives himself without hesitation, atmataya who is the supreme soul, paramatma paramatma eva indeed. Translation: the supreme personality of Godhead who is situated in everyone's heart as a super soul sells himself to his devotees such as Narad Muni. In other words, the Lord gives pure love to such devotees and gives himself to those who love him purely. Great self-realized mystic yogis such as the four Kumaras also derive great transcendental bliss from realizing the super soul within themselves. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord became Bali Maharaj's doorkeeper not because of his giving everything to the Lord, but because of his exalted position as a lover of the Lord. Mataji, can I continue to read till verse number 27? I wanted to, we can cover that many verses today.
Easily up to 5 verses or maybe more if there's no purports. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, there is purport. I think each and every verse has purport also, but I thought that because the context of Bali Maharaj, we can cover it today.
Yes, Prabhuji, still you can go, even if purport is there. That's good.
Okay, okay. So, 22nd verse. Navai Bhagavan Nunam Amusyanu Jagraha Yad Uttapunar Atmanusmriti Mosanam Maya Maya Bhog Aishwaryam Evatanu Teti. So can I skip the synonyms?
Yes, Prabhuji, I think Sanskrit translation and purport. Purports you can read.
Yeah.
We generally skip the word to word. Takes a lot of time then.
Correct, correct. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead did not award his mercy to Bali Maharaj by giving him material happiness and opulence, for these make one forget loving service to the Lord. The result of material opulence is that one can no longer absorb his mind in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. There are two kinds of opulence. One which results from one's karma is material, whereas the other is spiritual. A surrendered soul who fully depends on the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not want material opulence for sense gratification. Therefore, when a pure devotee is seen to possess exalted material opulence, it is not due to his karma, rather it is due to his bhakti. In other words, he is in that position because the Supreme Lord wants him to execute service to him very easily and opulently. The special mercy of the Lord for the neophyte devotee is that he becomes materially poor. This is the Lord's mercy, because if the neophyte devotee becomes materially opulent, he forgets the service of the Lord. However, if an advanced devotee is favored by the Lord with opulence, it is not material opulence, but a spiritual opportunity. Material opulence offered to the demigods causes forgetfulness of the Lord, but opulence was given to Bali Maharaj for continuing service to the Lord, which was free from any touch of Maya. Next verse. Yattad Bhagavata Dhigata Nyopayena Yachna Chalena Paharita Swa Sharira Avaseshita Lokatrayo Varuna Pashascha Samprati Mukto Giri Daryam Chapa Vidat Iti Hovacha. Translation: when the Supreme Personality of Godhead could see no other means of taking everything away from Bali Maharaj, he adopted the trick of begging from him and took away all the three worlds. Thus only his body was left, but the Lord was still not satisfied. He arrested Bali Maharaj, bound him with the ropes of Varuna, and threw him in a cave in a mountain. Nevertheless, although all his property was taken and he was thrown into the cave, Bali Maharaj was such a great devotee that he spoke as follows. Nunam batayam bhagavan artheshu na nishnato yo asau indro yasya sachivo mantraya vitta ekantato brihaspati tam atihaya swayam upendranath manam ayach tatatmanas chashisho no eva tad dasyam ati gambira vayasak kalasya manvantara parivritam kiyal lokatrayam idam. Alas, how pitiable it is for Indra, the king of heaven, that although he is very learned and powerful, and although he chose Brihaspati as his prime minister to instruct him, he is completely ignorant concerning spiritual advancement. Brihaspati is also unintelligent because he did not properly instruct his disciple Indra. Lord Vamandev was standing at Indra's doorstep, but King Indra, instead of begging him for an opportunity to render transcendental loving service, engaged him in asking me for alms to gain the three worlds for his son's gratification. Sovereignty over the three worlds is very insignificant because whatever material opulence one may possess lasts only for an age of Manu, which is but a tiny fraction of endless time. Purport: Bali Maharaj was so powerful that he fought with Indra and took possession of the three worlds. Indra was certainly very advanced in knowledge, but instead of asking Vamanadev for engagement in his service, he used the Lord to beg for material possessions that would be finished at the end of one age of Manu. An age of Manu, which is the duration of Manu's life, is calculated to last 72 yugas. One yuga consists of 300,000 years, and therefore the duration of Manu's life is 309.
Hare Krishna.
I think we
Can everyone hear?
no Mataji, like
Okay.
Prabhuji's voice. Yeah.
I hope Prabhuji knows that he's logged out.
I think we might have to contact Mataji.
Yeah, I can only do through WhatsApp because he's in India.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the WhatsApp call.
Okay.
Okay, he's joined.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I got disconnected. Sorry. I think maybe there was some internet issue.
No problem.
Okay. Now wanted to know how much did you hear?
309, 600,000 years.
Yeah,
Six-
the sec. Yeah.
Okay.
Whose life is 309, 600.
Okay. Yeah. So the demigods possess their material opulence only until the end of the life of Manu. Time is insurmountable. The time one is allotted, even if it is billions of years, is quickly gone. The demigods own their material possessions only within the limits of time. Therefore, Bali Maharaj lamented that although Indra was very learned, he did not know how to use his intelligence properly. For instead of asking Vamandev to allow him to engage in his service, Indra used him to beg Bali Maharaj for material wealth. Although Indra was learned and his prime minister Brihaspati was also learned, neither of them begged to be able to render service to Lord Vamandev. Therefore, Bali Maharaj lamented for Indra. The 25th. Yasyanu dasyam evasmat pitamaha kilav vavrya natu swaprityam yad utakuto bhayam padam diyamanam bhagavata param iti bhagavato parate khalu swapitri. Bali Maharaj said, my grandfather Prahlad Maharaj is the only person who understood his own self-interest. Upon the death of Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Narasimhadev wanted to offer Prahlad his father's kingdom and even wanted to grant him liberation from material bondage. But Prahlad accepted neither. Liberation and material opulence, he thought, are obstacles to devotional service, and therefore such gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead are not his actual mercy. Consequently, instead of accepting the results of karma and jnana, Prahlad Maharaj simply begged the Lord for engagement in the service of his servant. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed that an unalloyed devotee should consider himself servant of the Supreme Lord. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalur Das 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 Anudas. In Vaishnava philosophy, one should not even become a direct servant. Prahlad Maharaj was offered all the blessings of an opulent position in the material world and even the liberation of merging into Brahman. But he refused all this. He simply wanted to engage in the service of the servant of the Lord. Therefore, Bali Maharaj said that because his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, had rejected the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in terms of material opulence and liberation from material bondage, he truly understood his self-interest. 26th verse. Tasya mahanu bhava asyanu patham amrijita kashaya ko vasmad vida parihina bhagavad anugraha upaji gami shatati. Translation. Bali Maharaj said, persons like us who are still attached to material enjoyment, who are contaminated by the modes of material nature, and who lack the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot follow the supreme path of Prahlad Maharaj, the exalted devotee of the Lord. Purport. It is said that for spiritual realization, one must follow great personalities like Brahma, Devarshi Narad, Lord Shiva, and Prahlad Maharaj. The path of bhakti is not at all difficult if we follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas and authorities. But those who are too materially contaminated by the modes of material nature cannot follow them. Although Bali Maharaj was actually following the path of his grandfather because of his great humility, he thought that he was not. It is characteristic of advanced Vaishnavas following the principles of bhakti that they think themselves ordinary human beings. This is not artificial exhibition of humility. A Vaishnava sincerely thinks this way and therefore never admits his exalted position. Verse number 27. Tasyanu charitam uparistad vistari yasyate yasya bhagavan swayam akhila jagat guru narayano dwari kada panir avathistate nija jananu kampita hridayo yenan gustane pada dash kandaro yojana yu ta yutam digvijay uchatitta. Translation. Sukdev Goswami continued, my dear king, how shall I glorify the character of Bali Maharaj, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of the three worlds, who is most compassionate to his own devotees, stands with club in hand at Bali Maharaj's door. When Ravan, the powerful demon, came to gain victory over Bali Maharaj, Vamandev kicked him a distance of 80,000 miles with his big toe. I shall explain the character and activities of Bali Maharaj later in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so yeah. We'll stop here now. And, yeah. Okay, you are able to see me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
I stopped sharing the screen also. Okay. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyana Jalashalagaya Chakshurum Militamyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. So I wanted to share some information which Rupa Goswami shares in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, because generally devotees, they have some misconceptions about the appearances of the different avatars of the Lord. So I wanted to clarify that. And before that, I also would like to share on the screen some slides about the subterranean planetary, the lower planetary systems. So okay, so you are able to see this?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is Bhuvar Loka. And so I think in this particular chapter, you must have gone across the verses where it also describes about the different, residents of Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadhars, Yakshas, Rakshasas. It describes our Antariksha and Bhuvar Loka. So, which is situated between the moon planet and the Earth, Bhumandala, right? So this is how it is situated. And so we have the Rahu planet, then we have Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadharas, we have the Yakshas and the Rakshasas. So they are situated in between. That's why it is called as Bhuvar Loka, Antariksha. Okay. So the lower planetary systems, they consist of Daityas, Danavas, Nagas, and they have a lot of wealth, power, bliss, sense enjoyment, which is also kind of greater than the higher planets. Illusory enjoyment, and then so there are, desires are more unimpeded than in Swargaloka, and then they have no fear also of time. And then because the sun rays cannot reach this lower planetary system because it is surrounded by Bhumandal. That's why. So this is not description about the Antariksh. This is the lower planetary system. We'll come to the description of Atal, Vital, Sutal, and all that planets. And because it is surrounded by Bhumandala on all sides, that's why the sun rays cannot reach them. So how they are eliminated? They are eliminated with the help of gems on snake heads. So there are a lot of elixirs and juices made of divine herbs. They do not experience anxiety, disease, perspiration, fatigue, old age, all that. They do not have any fear of death. And this is some pictorial depiction of the lower planetary system. So this is about the Atal. So some description about that. Atal, and then Vital. Lord Shiva is residing in Vital. We have the Mayadanav, who is the demon Bala, who is the son of Mayadanav, residing in Atal. And then we have Lord Shiva here. In Sutal, we have Bali Maharaj. So we have Talatal, we have Mahatal ruled. So Talatal ruled by Maya. Mahatal, many hooded snakes are there. And then we have the Rasatal, descendants of Diti and Danu. And then we have the Patal. So Naga, Shanka, Kulika, Mahashanka, Shweta, headed by Vasuki. And their respective positions from Mount Meru. Yeah, so this is the cross-sectional view of the Bhumandala, because we have to show the lower planetary system, and because it is inside the Bhumandal, so it is shown in the form of cross-section. So these are the dimensions of the, so each lower planetary system is 10,000 yojanas, and then there is a distance of 500 yojanas between two planetary systems. So between Atal and Vital, there is a gap of 500 yojanas, and each one of them is 10,000 yojanas. And then below all the lower planetary system, we have the hellish planets, 28 hellish planets. Okay, so this is the pictorial depiction of the lower planetary systems. Yeah. And coming to Sutal. So Bali Maharaj is residing here, and Lord Vamandev is kind of a gatekeeper, watchman. He acts as a watchman. So he's serving Bali Maharaj because he's purchased by the devotion of Bali Maharaj. So he's serving Bali Maharaj in the form of being a watchman, guarding his place. And Bali Maharaj is worshipping the Lord with fearless heart, complete devotion, and he also resides here with greater opulences that of Indra. So this is about the Sutal Loka. And now we'll be discussing something about the appearance of the different avatars of the Lord. And because it is very important, I feel. People have misconception about, so we think that all the avatars, they are appearing in this particular current cycle of 4 yugas, Satyuga, Trita Yuga, Dwapar and Kali Yuga, but it is not the case. So let me just go through some information from Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita. So he says that Vamandev, he stands with his club in hand at Bali Maharaj's doorstep. When Ravana, the powerful demon, came to gain victory. Okay, so this is from the Bhagavatam, which we have already read. Then, okay, so Lord Vamandev appeared 3 times in this kalpa. So now one kalpa is equivalent to 12 days, 12 hours of Brahma, not even the entire one day. Okay, it is only 12 hours of Brahma. And in this 12 hours of Brahma, there are 4, we have the Divya Yugas. One Divya Yuga is equivalent to the 4 Yugas combined together. Satyug, Trita, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. If you add them together, that becomes one Divya Yuga. Like that, one Divya Yuga you multiply 1000 times. So that becomes the length of the 12 hours of Brahma. And then into 2 becomes the entire day of Brahma, including day and night. So 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night. That is 24 hours of Brahma, which means it is 2000 times one Divya Yuga. Okay. So now one kalpa, when it is mentioned one kalpa, it is generally believed to be 12 hours of Brahmari. So in that one kalpa, because there is no appearance of the Lord in the night time. So there is annihilation. There is a creation only in the daytime. So in the 12 hours of Brahma, which means that 1000 cycles of 4 yugas have already passed. Okay. So now Rupa Goswami clearly mentions which avatar appears. Okay. So we are specifically focusing on Lord Vamandev. And we'll also discuss about Narad Muni as well as the Kumaras, because there is a description of Narad Muni and the Kumaras also. So Lord Vaman appears 3 times in this kalpa during the reign of first Manu, Swayambhu Manu. So now there are 14 Manus in this 12 hours of Brahma, right? The first one is Swayambhu. We are in the 7th Manu period, which is the Vaivastha Manu period. 6th Manu is the Chakshusha Manu, and first Manu is Swayambhu Manu. So we have to always think, we should not forget that these avatars of the Lord, they are not necessarily appearing in our particular cycle of Divya Yuga. Okay, so first Vamandev is appearing in Swayambhu Manu, where he visited the sacrifice performed by Vaskal, the king of the Danavas. Then again appears in the reign of Vaivastha Manu and visited the sacrifice performed by Dhundu. So in this 7th Manu period, Vaivastha Manu, Vamandev is appearing twice. So once he already appeared where he had visited the sacrifice performed by Dhundu. And then again in the 7th Chaturyug of that Manvantar, which is Vaivastha Manvantar, and in the 7th Chaturyuga. See, we are in the 28th cycle of that Vaivastha Manu. Okay, we are not at all in the so this description is about the 7th Chaturyuga, and we are in the 28th Chaturyuga. So we should remember that. So Vamandev did not appear in our current cycle of Divya Yuga. Okay. And so in the 7th Chaturyuga of that Manvantar, he appeared as a son of Kashyap and Aditi. In this way, to accept a donation, he appeared 3 times as Lord Trivikram. Okay, next. So exalted individual souls into whom Lord Janardhan enters with a portion of his knowledge potency and other potencies are called Avesh avatars of the Lord. So now this is not about Vamandev. We already discussed about the appearance of Vamandev. He appears 3 times. Now this is about the Avesh forms of the Lord, which is basically Narad Muni and Kumaras. So Janardhan enters with a portion of his knowledge potency and other potencies called Avesh. So Narada and the 4 Kumaras are examples of them in Vaikuntha. So they were seen by Akrura as listed in the 10th canto. In order to preach everything about his own devotional service, Lord Hari, who is splendid as a moon, appeared from the demigod Brahma as Devarshi Narad. In the first kalpa, the Brahma kalpa, the 4 Kumaras appear, and then Narada follows them. So this happens in every yuga. And then during the reign of Swayambhu Manu, at the beginning of Brahma kalpa, the 4 Kumaras, Narad Muni, and many other incarnations appeared. Other incarnations also appeared later during the reigns of Chakshusha and other Manus. And so Narad Muni is the Avesh form, is the Shakti Avesh form in terms of bhakti. So he is specially empowered for the functioning of bhakti. And Kumaras, they are especially empowered for the functioning of jnana. Okay. It's not disconnected, right?
No, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Kumaras are specially empowered by the Gyan Shakti of the Lord. Okay, so these are Saktavesh forms of the Lord. Now we have to remember one thing, that Saktavesh forms of the Lord, these are eternal forms of the Lord, because they are endowed with a bigger potency. So there are Vibhutis and then there are Saktavesh avatars. So Vibhutis are also Jivas and they are empowered to a certain degree, to a smaller degree. But Saktavesh forms, they are eternal and they are empowered with larger potency of the Lord. Okay. So Ananta Sage is another example of Saktavesh form. So these are Jiv Tattvas. These are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are not Swayam Bhagwan. So it is also described in the Sandarbhas that there are divisions of different types of avatars of the Lord. One is the Swayam Rupa, other is the Tad Ekatma Rupa, and then the third one is the Avesh forms of the Lord. So Swayam Rupa is Krishna, Krishna's to Bhagwan Swayam. He is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the Swayam Rupa of the Lord. And then there are different expansions of the Lord. So these come into category of Tad Ekatma. Now Tad Ekatma is also divided further into two categories, which is Tad Sama and Tad Amsha. So these are two different categories. And then Tad Sama is also further divided into two categories, which is the Prabhav expansion and the Vaibhav expansions. So now what is the difference between Tad Ekatma and Swayam Rupa? So there is a Swayam Rupa is independent form of the Lord, and Tad Ekatma form is actually dependent on the independent form of the Lord, which basically means that all the Vishnu expansion of the Lord, they are all dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So that is Tad Ekatma. And they also possess opulence, which is almost equal to the Lord. So they display opulence, which is almost similar to the Lord. There is some difference. There is not major difference, but they are all the Supreme Lord. So they are all Vishnu Tattvas in the category of Vishnu Tattva. So this is Tad Ekatma form of the Lord. Prabhav expansion and Vaibhav. So Vaibhav expansions are the expansions which display more Vaibhav, which means more opulences compared to Prabhav. So which display only lesser opulences. And so these are in the category of Tad Ekatma. These are Swayam. In one sense, these are all Vishnu Tattvas. And then we have the Avesh forms of the Lord, which are the Jiv Tattva and who are empowered by the Lord. So we have to understand this category. And obviously now there are further divisions also. We'll not go into the details of this analysis, but this is sufficient as of now. So yeah, again, we have to also note. So generally, whenever we talk about the appearances of the devotees or of the Lord, I think it's very natural for devotees to think that they are all appearing in Satyuga of this particular Yuga, Divya Yuga. But actually, we forget about Swayambhuva Manu. Prior to us, there are 6 Manus. Okay, so all these forms, they are appearing in Swayambhuva Manu. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to share about this is that, so amongst the Leela avatars, the 4 Kumaras and Maharaj Pitu all appeared during the reign of the first Swayambhuva Manu. So Lord Vara and Lord Matsya, however, appeared again during the reign of Chakshusha Manu. Okay, all right. So this is about some information from the Laghu Bhagavatamrit, which is indicating the exact time of appearance of the Lord's avatars and the devotees. Okay, so now I would like to discuss something about because there is a description of the characteristics and glorification of Bali Maharaj. So I just wanted to share something about that. So Bali Maharaj, being a Mahajan, is also one of the pure devotees of the Lord, and he's also setting an example for all the devotees to follow. So one thing we have to also remember in Krishna consciousness, because people and devotees also, so there is a misconception among them, and they think that material wealth is sometimes it can be Maya for us, and we can lose our, or there is a chance that it can decrease our bhakti, or it can affect our bhakti because we get attached to Maya, we get attached to opulences. But I would like to share that if you see in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, examples of all the saintly kings, and they were not just materialistic people, they were all pure devotees of the Lord. So it was the desire of the Lord that they have a lot of material opulence, and not just they have material opulence, but they enjoy that opulence also, right? So there are many examples like that. For example, I do remember there is one king. I think his name is, he was the son of Brahma. I think it was Swayambhavu Manu himself, right? I think he wanted to retire, but then his guru Narad Muni, he encouraged him to retire from all the duties and everything. And he wanted to be a renunciant, but then Brahma came and then instructed him, and he asked him to enter into family life, into Grihastha ashrams, and then he also asked him to rule the world. So I think it was Swayambhavu Manu, if I am not mistaken. If someone knows, then they can correct me also. But in any case, we have to understand the principle. So it is not important to get into the details, the technicalities, but we can understand from great saintly kings. Even like, you take the example of Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, they were all materially very opulent. They were kings and they ruled also. So even though they wanted to retire, they wanted to engage in full-time service of the Lord. Arjun also was bewildered temporarily. But then the Lord actually wanted to give them material opulence, and they wanted them to rule the world. So it is possible that some devotees may be empowered like that, and they get a lot of material wealth and they can engage in Krishna's service. Now the most important principle, if a devotee has wealth, is that they should never compromise with their sadhana. So if any devotee, they have got material wealth, there's a lot of chance. I mean, see, unless one is empowered by the Supreme Lord, there is a lot of chance that the devotee can slip and he can immediately get attracted towards opulences. So their devotional services can slacken, bhakti can slacken. There's a lot of chance in that, because when you have material opulence, definitely you'll enjoy. And when you enjoy it, you will have, like for example, you will go outside, you will have outside food regularly. You will enjoy a lot of opulences outside also. So you'll associate with a lot of materialistic people also. You'll hear from them, So in that sense, because of that connection with materialistic people from the outside world, there is a lot of chance that we can, our bhakti can slacken. In order to protect ourselves or to have a shield around us, we have to have a strong sadhana. So I guess, and I assume that most important element for a materially wealthy devotee is his sadhana. If sadhana is compromised, then there is a chance that bhakti can actually, it can slacken. And so sadhana, what do I mean by sadhana? Now sadhana obviously means 16 rounds of minimum chanting of Hare Krishna Mantra, following the 4 regulative principles strictly. And along with that, I think it is very important that some amount of time should be given for Shravanam also. So Shravanam in the form of hearing Katha as well as reading from scriptures. So if a wealthy devotee does that, then he is well protected by the armor of Shravanam and the Kirtanam. Okay, so and obviously you will have the mercy of Srila Prabhupada as well as the Parampara. Now, it may be the desire of Prabhupada or the Acharyas or the, in the Parampara for the devotee to contribute something wonderful in the service of Lord. So like, for example, we have Ambarish Prabhu also, Prabhupada disciple, who is extremely wealthy, but he is channelizing all his wealth in the service of the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. So that's why in the purport also Srila Prabhupada states that a devotee may be empowered to do wonderful service for the service of Lord. That's why he may be supplied a lot of wealth, because the Lord understands that the devotee will use it, will channelize it. So he will not deviate from that. Okay, so instead of using for the service of Lord, he will not use it for his own sense gratification. That's why the Lord will give him more and more wealth. But then there are devotees who may be bewildered by that wealth. So the Lord may not give that wealth to some devotees who may not be able to use it in the service of Lord. Aspire for wealth, but the Lord may give only to few of them. So in general, wealth may be given to devotees, some amount of wealth, which is absolutely okay. It may not hinder in our progress of bhakti, but to get that extra amount of wealth, extraordinary wealth, that is only given to some few empowered devotees who can actually channelize that wealth in the service of Lord. So see, now one aspect is that we should never judge any wealthy devotee also. So we may think that some devotees, they are going outside and they are enjoying all the facilities. They're staying in the hotels, big hotels. They are using, instead of purchasing, cars which are expensive, they are buying cars which are very expensive. So we may see all these external factors. But one thing we have to remember, that the saintly kings also in the past, they had all these kind of opulences. It is not that they were living in a hut, right? So they were big kings and they had huge palaces, right? And they were using all these opulences. So now one thing is for sure, that in spite of all these opulences, these devotees were detached. So whether opulences are coming to them or whether they are not coming to them, they are always detached, because they are attached to the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is a special quality of a wealthy person or a wealthy devotee. The ability to be detached from material opulences also, which means that tomorrow, if you do not have wealth, tomorrow, if you do not have those facilities, you will not stop your service to the Lord. So in spite of all the obstacles, you will continue your service to the Lord. So whichever place, wherever you are, you will still continue. That should be the mood of a wealthy devotee also. They should not become attached to the wealth and they should not slacken their bhakti. This is the point. So we should understand one thing, that we should not judge these devotees from external point of view, because all devotees, they have different standards of living. Okay. So someone may live simply, but then there are devotees who are living more simpler than that standard also, right? So how do you define that? How do you draw a borderline? Where should we define what is simplicity and what is not? Different devotees, they have different standards of living, and depending on that, we should respect that. Okay. What is most important is whether they are surrendered to their spiritual masters, whether they are doing their sadhana nicely, and whether they are humble. These three things are the only things which is most important. So rest all the things, we should never judge any other devotee. So by judging, see, we never know, Prabhupada may be empowering them in a special way. I know a lot of devotees, I have personally seen a lot of devotees who have a lot of wealth, but they have channelized their wealth in such a wonderful way. They are doing a lot of services. And if you, and another concept is that you have to also set an example for others to follow. So there are some senior Vaishnavas in our Radha Gopinath temple also. And externally, they are very opulent. They display opulence also. It's not that they are living in simple farmhouse or something like that. Because the reason is that, when they were connected to ISKCON, so that time they had the spirit of renunciation also. But then His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he instructed them not to give up their opulence, but use and channelize their opulence in the service of Lord, and also set an example for others to follow. So see, when people from the outside world, and especially those who are industrialists, those who are millionaires, billionaires, when they come and visit the house of these personalities, so they should also get some feeling that, okay, yeah, this is a person whom I can connect, and he is also like, he has the same wealth that I have also, right? So they should be able to connect with you. So if everyone will renounce, then everyone from the outside world will get a very bad impression that, oh, being grihasthas, these devotees, they have just renounced everything. So basically, if you want to become devotee in ISKCON, it means that you have to give up everything. So who is going to get attracted to such kind of thing? No one. So Srila Prabhupada, if you read his letters, if you read his purports in the books, Prabhupada says different things at different times, and he encourages devotees according to their capacity. So Prabhupada also encouraged grihasthas to live outside the temple on wealth, and to also set a good example for others to follow from the outside world. So we have to be very careful. We should not judge any devotee, and we should have strong sadhana. What is most important, as also described in one particular verse that we read, is that we should follow in the footsteps of the great authorities, the Mahajans. And you'll see that in the list of the Mahajans, there are many Mahajans who are kings also, and there are a lot of opulence also, right? So opulence is something which can be an ornament in devotional service. And we have to also remember one thing: all the devotees, according to their nature, they are doing bhakti. I don't think that any particular devotee, they are so surrendered to the Lord that whatever the Guru says, they are willing to do that. I have observed one thing in our movement, that maximum percentage of devotees, they are rendering service according to the nature. It is not that they are being, doing something which is imposed by someone else, and they are doing something which they do not like to do, because they will not grow in that service so much. So sometimes, yeah, we do certain things which the Guru wants us to do with the authorities they would like us to do. If there is no other option for them, then they will ask us to do that service also. So some kind of menial service also we have to do certain times. But it is not our long-term service, right? Our long-term service is basically we engage according to our nature, according to our inclination. And I think we'll do the service much better if we are doing a service which we do not like to do, right? So that becomes our long-term service. And so similarly, every devotee has their own nature. Now, some devotees may like business, okay, being a grihastha, and if it is natural for them to do business, and if they can spend a lot of time in that, and they can generate a lot of outcome from that, a lot of result from that, then devotees who are doing business also, they are rendering wonderful service, provided they engage that Lakshmi in the service of Lord. So one thing we have to note, that devotees must always do sadhana, because sadhana is our constitutional position, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaran is actually these are the limbs of bhakti, and karma is not the limb of bhakti. It is just an assistant to the process of bhakti. So karma is required as long as we are in the material world, but in the spiritual world there is no karma, because everyone is enjoying. So the limbs of bhakti, they are all there in the spiritual world, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. These are eternal limbs, because we know that we are doing sadhana, and in order to attain sadhya. So sadhana and sadhya is actually the same for devotees, which is basically chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So the practice and the goal is the same. Hare Krishna Mahamantra we are chanting in the material world, and we'll also chant in the spiritual world, right? So goal and practice, they are the same. But karma, jnana, these are all part of the material world. As long as we are in the material world, we have that jnana. Okay, and we have to use that jnana also again in the service of the Lord. So jnana, we do not use speculation. We are attaining knowledge to understand God, to understand the process of bhakti. So that's why we have Sambandh Gyan. So through the Sambandh Gyan, we understand the process of bhakti, and that helps us in order to attain our goal and to chant purely also. So you cannot chant purely unless you have Sambandh Gyan. We have to remember this very clearly, that Gyan is required. That is the role of Guru. So why a Guru is there? A Guru is only there to give Gyan. Without Gyan, there is no concept of Guru. Okay. So in order to bestow Gyan, Guru is there. And the role of Guru, function of Guru, is to make the disciple a pure devotee. In order to become pure devotee, we should chant the holy name purely. In order to chant purely, we require Gyan. So we require Gyan in terms of avoiding the offenses, and also the process should not become anartha nivriti. It should become artha pravriti. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whose disappearance is today, so he commented that the process should not become anartha nivriti, which means that the devotee should not just keep focusing on anarthas and anarthas and anarthas just because they would like to advance in bhakti, but the focus should all be on artha pravritti, which means that what is the goal? We want to render service to the Lord, we want to please the Lord, and we should focus on that. If we focus on that, then anarthas will automatically go away gradually by the fire of Krishna consciousness, right? So this Gyan is required, and not the philosophical speculation kind of Gyan. So we are not Mayavadis, and we don't attain Gyan just to become Gyanis, right? So one thing also we have to be very careful in Krishna consciousness, that the goal of to read books, to hear from devotees, is to make advancement in bhakti, to purify ourselves, so that we can render wonderful service to the parampara, Guru, and so we can please Srila Prabhupada and parampara. So the goal of reading Prabhupada's books should not become Gyani, that okay, we can show off the knowledge to others, right? But it should be in the spirit of purifying ourselves, so that we can please Srila Prabhupada, because he has sacrificed so much for us, and he is expecting us to read his books. So that's why we are reading his books. We are trying to understand what knowledge he has given. And the purpose of Guru, as I said earlier also, that it is basically to clarify doubts, to destroy all the illusions and the doubts, and that is in the form of Vidya, right? So we do it in order to please Srila Prabhupada, in order to please the Lord. And that's how that Gyan will actually help us in devotional service. Okay, so that kind of Gyan becomes favorable. But Gyan itself is not the eternal limb of Bhakti. It is just a assisting limb of Bhakti. So it is not the Navvidha limb of Bhakti, but it is something which is favoring Bhakti. So that kind of Gyan and that kind of karma also. So now different devotees, they would like to engage in different ways, and different devotees, they have different inclinations and their nature also. So we have to appreciate that. So some devotees may like menial simple services in the temple. Some devotees would like to preach. Some devotees would like to distribute books. Some devotees would like to serve in the position of a manager, right? So depending on the talents of the devotees, Srila Prabhupada also engaged his disciples in different ways, right? So like, for example, Surbhi's Prabhu, that time Srila Prabhupada, he actually saw that he had architectural talent. He was an engineer and he was constructing and building structures and all that. So Prabhupada engaged him in building temples. So like that, Prabhupada engaged different devotees in different ways. He also engaged His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj in managing the temples, in building temples, in constructing temples and all that, because he saw that he had that natural ability also, right? So he's very effective in that. So we can see the result of that. So then different devotees, they are rendering different services. At the same time, they also rendered all types of menial services to Srila Prabhupada. Whenever there is an opportunity, whenever there was a need, they also served Srila Prabhupada in a menial way. The important point is they were surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. So whether it was in their nature or not in their nature, they also accepted the will of Srila Prabhupada, right? Depending on that, they serve Srila Prabhupada. So this is very important. So we have to see everything in a bigger picture, not just focus on smaller things. And we have to also understand that some devotees may be very popular. Okay, externally they may be very popular, but it is not necessary that they are very advanced, because you'll see that there are many advanced Vaishnavas in our movement and they are not so popular, but their disciples, they are very popular, but it's not necessary they are very advanced. So just because someone has ability to speak wonderfully, it does not make them very advanced Vaishnava, because there are many qualities of advanced Vaishnavas. Their behavior, their example, their sensibility in dealing with Vaishnavas, their the details that they actually get into. So it is smaller things that make them advanced Vaishnavas. It is not the bigger things. So we always focus on bigger things, the external things. But if we see their behavior, their dealings with the devotees, their sacrifices, their austerities, then we'll realize that these are really advanced devotees, although they may not be really popular speakers also, right, in our movement. So all these factors needs to be considered, and depending on that, we have to appreciate the devotees. One very important principle in our movement is that if we don't know a devotee intimately, we should never criticize, we should never judge a devotee. We should always try to appreciate whatever service they are doing. Okay, but then once we know the devotee, we are friends with them, or we are their seniors, and if we see something is wrong, then we can also correct. We can also offer some advice and suggestion. Obviously, if they are willing to accept it. If they do not accept it, then obviously we cannot do that. So all these things needs to be considered, so that we can stay away from judgment, and thereby we can actually avoid offenses to the holy name, and somehow we can also come to the stage of Shuddhanam. So then we can attain the goal. So this is why I just wanted to share a few points. And now if there are any questions, then devotees are definitely welcome to ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam, all Krishna Sri Prabhupada. It
Yes.
was a nice class, pointing on the organization and our movement, our priorities, our goals, and guidance in terms of the direction. So I would like to ask, I have one question in terms of quality control. So we have some instances are there, temple in congregations, the quality and standard that Prabhupada stood for is getting diluted, to my view, in some congregation, amongst some initiated as well as non-initiated bhaktas. So there should be some kind of a disciplining or quality control process in a at the guru or the initiating guru level or the congregation level or temple level. So what is your view on that? Just want to know if you have in the same perception to some extent or whatever extent.
Yeah, okay. See, what I feel is that as far as devotees are not committing offenses, and maybe if they're immature in certain areas, then definitely if we are their guide or their mentors, then we can present to them, and that presentation should also be done in a nice way. So it means that basically what we do is we ask them questions, and they already know the answers. In whichever area you try to advise people, actually most of the people, they know the answers. So they know that we are not supposed to behave like this, we are not supposed to have this quality, we are not supposed to do this, do that. But it is just a matter of getting it out from their own selves instead of correcting them. Okay, because see, when you try to correct someone, the tendency is that they will start rebelling. So unless and until they have that kind of bonding with you, so if they have really good bonding, they are accepting correction, then yeah, definitely we can correct them, and they take it positively. But if they take it negatively, then instead of correcting them, the best process is to actually ask them questions. So or you can present in such a way that you can say that, well, certain devotees are feeling like this, that whatever you are doing, it is not approved by them, and they are feeling it otherwise and all that. So you can present it in a very nice, acceptable way to them. So that way they can actually accept all the corrections. But if we become angry on them, or if we become a bit harsh on them, then I think they will not be able to accept it, because initially devotees, they are definitely immature. Now see, at one level we are all immature in the eyes of Srila Prabhupada, and in the eyes of Guru, we are all immature, right? No matter how many years we have spent in Krishna consciousness, no matter even if we have taken second Diksha, right, Brahman Diksha also, but still we are immature in the eyes of Guru, because Guru is much more advanced than us. So whenever we deal with the Guru or devotees, there are many elements which the Guru can also correct us. So we have to accept that we are immature, and that's why we have to also tolerate the immaturity of neophyte devotees or new devotees. So one aspect is that we have to tolerate. Unless you tolerate, you cannot become a nice preacher. Prabhupada said many times in letter, in his purport also, Prabhupada said that a preacher has to be tolerant. So what to tolerate, what not to tolerate, that is very important. So there are certain immature principles which a neophyte devotee will definitely demonstrate, and these things we have to tolerate if it is not hampering anyone else. But if they are committing aparadhs, or if their behavior is causing harm, or it is offending devotees, or it is not in accordance with the parampara, teachings of parampara, and it is breaking the regulative principles, then definitely we can address them. So depending on the relationship, different methods and ways can be presented to them. So like that, I think, that would be the suggestion.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Haribol Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, so many nice points. So Prabhuji, on the incarnation, Narad Muni and the 4 Kumaras comes in every Manvantara, like.
Yeah. So see, as I said, that these are eternal forms. Narad Muni, Kumaras, they are all eternal. Saktavesha avatars are eternal actually. So in that sense, although they appear in Swayambhuva Manu, but then we have, there are some avatars which are there for the entire day of Brahma. There are some which are there for only the lifetime of Manus, like the Manvantara avatars. Like we have the 6 category of avatars. We have the Guna avatars, we have the Purusha avatars, then we have the Leela avatars, then we have the Satyavesh avatars, we have the Manvantara avatars, and we have Guna, Purusha, Leela, Satyavesh, Manvantar, and
Yuga avatar.
Yuga
Amsha,
avatars.
Amsha.
Thanks. Yeah. So Yuga avatars. So Yuga avatars are the ones who are appearing in Yugas. So these are directly the forms of the Lord, but they appear and disappear depending on the particular Yugas. And they may be eternal forms also. So Satyavesh avatars, they are eternal forms, not like Vibhutis. So Vibhutis are like temporary empowerment of particular Jiva. So after the role is over, the empowerment is also removed. But these avatars, they are eternal avatars of the Lord. So Swayambhuva Manu, now Narad Muni is definitely present in all the yugas, in 4 yugas also, and at the same time is also present eternally. So he's always present like that.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. And that was a wonderful point you mentioned. Vaman Dev did not came during our cycle of Manvanta. It was earlier 6th.
So it is Srila Rupa Goswami who has clarified these points. So I'm just repeating those points.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
During 6th Manvantara, Vamandev came twice, right?
No, Vamandev is appearing in the Swayambhuva Manu, and then he's appearing in the 7th Manu twice,
Twice.
which is our Vaivasth Manu.
Vaivasth, I see.
Yeah. So in the 7th cycle, I think he's appearing.
Okay.
7th Chaturiga, that is what we, I think, read, right? And then in this particular Yuga cycle, the 20th Divya Yuga cycle.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Does anyone has any question, comments further?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have one question. Prabhuji, you were mentioning in reference to, like different opulences devotees have, but you were saying in reference to something called its ornament. That word I was not able to capture in what reference you are saying, ornament.
Yeah, so that opulence, material opulence can be an ornament for a devotee if that ornament is glorifying the Lord. So it is used in the service of Lord.
So can be an ornament for the devotee. So can you please explain again, like in what sense? Like means
like if I have a lot of wealth and there are so many projects that we have in ISKCON, so I can utilize my wealth in all these projects, right? And I can I as a devotee, as a sadhaka, I have my own conditioning and I have my own standard of living. So we have to understand what is the standard of living that we want to have in this life, and obviously as far as possible we should try to minimize that. We should not, if we have a good simple standard of living, we should not increase artificially the standard of living. Okay, so instead of that, what we can do is whatever wealth, extraordinary wealth we are getting, we can engage all that wealth in the service of the Lord. We can increase our donations to the projects that we have in our ISKCON movement. So that way it can become an ornament, because the ornament, what does an ornament do? Ornament beautifies, it glorifies the Lord. So similarly, everything can be whatever can be channelized in the service of Lord. It's an ornament in one sense.
okay, now I got it. And also, like Bali Maharaj is actually thanking his Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah.
He's this way because his great grandfather.
Yes.
Or grandfather. I don't know how many generations.
Grandfather. Yeah, grandfather.
Grandfather. Matlab Dada.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so exalted, and so he it's coming through his family lineage that he was able to connect to Lord through devotional service only, and not Indra and other who were like not attached to the service so much as other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that in my mind it was coming when you were reading the purports that we can't compare Indra to Duryodhana, but Duryodhana was similar way, right? He was he preferred to have a big army and all those things, but Arjuna chose Krishna. So
Actually, this is a very good point. In fact, I was going to comment about it because you mentioned about Indra. So see, in our Bhagavatam itself, there are so many leelas of the Lord wherein Indra is bewildered, and he's not even just committing some sinful activities, but he also tried to fight with the Lord directly. And he also actually he put obstacles in devotees' lives, because he thought that if they perform some good austerity or if they attain the kingdom, then they will start ruling, and my position and everything will be lost. So Indra has not just committed sinful activities, but he's also committed aparadhs also in one sense. But now see, it is very interesting that Indra is always protected by the Lord. So this is the difference between demigod and demon, because you also mentioned about Duryodhan. In one sense, I would say that Indra probably committed more sinful activities than Duryodhan, right? But he was protected by the Lord. Why? Because Indra submitted to the Lord's will finally, whereas Duryodhan never submitted to the Lord. So he was always an asura. Now, interestingly, it is in one, I do remember, I think it is in Hariswari Prabhu's, Srila Prabhupada's diary. So he mentions about this particular conversation between a disciple and Prabhupada, where he's asking Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, Duryodhan was actually favored by Balram. So was he actually, in the guise of a demon, was he a devotee? Prabhupada said, yes, he's actually eternal associate of Balram. So he made this comment about Duryodhan. And according to, I think, Garga Samhita, Duryodhan is actually expansion of the Kali, expansion of Kali. Yeah. So he's actually Asura because the expansion of Kali. So we have the Garg Samhita and then we have comment by a pure devotee, right? So we can understand that it may be possible Duryodhan may be an eternal associate of Balram, and he may appear in the form of a demon, just like the way Jay and Vijay also appeared in the form of demon. And not just Jay Vijay, but also Dvivid the gorilla. He was also actually eternal associate of the Lord. But actually, he offended Lakshman in the previous life, and that's how he had fallen down from his position. So this was just to show an example, set an example that we have to, if we want to approach the Lord, we have to respect the Guru also. We should not offend the Guru, because a Guru is actually the way to the Lord. Without the Guru, you cannot directly approach the Lord. So Dvivida had actually offended Lord Lakshman, and that's why he had fallen down in Krishna Leela. Then ultimately Krishna killed him. But Dvivida is also an associate of the Lord. So there are examples of asuras coming in Krishna Leela, in Ram Leela, but in reality they are all associates of the Lord. So it is possible that Duryodhan may be an associate of the Lord also. Anyways, coming to the point, so Indra is always protected by the Lord. Why? So in one particular instance where I think it was Maharaj Prithu, or maybe it was Maharaj Prithu or Maharaj Priyavrat, I think Prithu Maharaj. So where he was chasing Indra, he was trying to kill Indra because he was performing some yagya, and then Indra was constantly putting some obstacles. So then finally he chased Indra in order to kill him. But then Lord Vishnu himself appeared and he told him that, don't please forgive Indra, release Indra, because he is my limb, he is one of my limbs. So in one sense, demigods are actually the expansion of the Lord. They are the Amsha Avatars of the Lord. So which means that these are jivas who are empowered by the Lord. Okay, but these are not Saktavesh Avatars of the Lord. So they are not eternal. They have some vibhuti of the Lord. They have some Shakti of the Lord. So they are ultimately protected by the Lord. So demigods are all protected by the Lord because they are representatives of the Lord. So one thing also we have to, this is a very important lesson for all the devotees also. Sometimes we see that, we see that some managers are there. They sometimes commit some mistakes in ISKCON. Some managers, some leaders, they commit mistakes. But if they are taking some high position, role in a high position, some leaders or managers, the position of that, then we should also take that into consideration. If they are representing, like for example, temple president, or a guru, or a sannyasi, or a leader, position of a leader. So that also we have to respect. So whether it is devotee or whether he is a non-devotee, we have to respect that position. So just because our ministers, they are not devotees, it does not mean that we should not respect them. We should see them as representatives of the Supreme Lord, at least in the current time. Okay. And that's why whenever we invite these personalities, so we give them first priority. We give them a lot of honor, respect, reverence, and we treat them very specially also. If you see all the ISKCON temples, whenever some big popular personality, popular figure is coming to ISKCON, so we treat them very specially. We don't deal them ordinarily, right? Because we respect their position, because they are representatives of the Supreme Lord. So the Lord has empowered to do them certain services. They may not be devotees, but they are representatives of the Supreme Lord. And without the empowerment of the Lord, they cannot even actually handle that position. It is not so easy to become Prime Minister of India. You will see how many responsibilities. See, whenever you take responsibility in one temple, there will be so many problems and issues. Because when you take a position of leader, the most important thing is that whether you are able to solve the problems of all the dependents or not. That's the main, because leader means to be a servant of the dependents. Leader is not something which is like, you enjoy that position. We have to serve. That should be the goal. That should be the motive. So when we try to serve the dependents come up with a lot of problems and issues. So we have to have that capacity of resolving that. And whenever you take some responsibility, along with that, there will be a lot of headache and problems and management, especially managerial issues. So one temple, it is so difficult to handle. You can just imagine what will be the situation of the Prime Minister. He is actually handling the entire nation, not just the nation, but he has to also be very diplomatically strong with other countries. And so many strategies he has to follow, adopt. And he cannot take a decision which will, tomorrow it will actually have some bad impact on our country, right? So he has to be so cautious about each and every detail and everything. That's why the Prime Minister is also empowered by the Supreme Lord. So we have to remember that whichever person is taking a very big role, he is empowered by the Supreme Lord. We have to respect that empowerment. So in spite of Indra's repeated offenses, repeated sinful activities, he was always protected by the Lord because he is Amsha of the Lord. So this is something that we have to consider also.
But then Lord Vishnu told Indra to seek forgiveness from Prithu Maharaj also.
Correct. Yeah, so see, this is the special ability of the demigods. If asuras are there, they will not beg forgiveness. They will always go against the Lord. But so demigods are mixed devotees. When the time will come, they will also submit to the Lord, right? So after the pastime of, now see, it is very interesting. Indra, he was trying to destroy entire Vraj. And you know how important Vraj is for the Lord. Because Vrindavan is actually the highest place in the entire spiritual creation. And the devotees of Vrindavan, they are the highest devotees of the Lord. So you can just imagine what kind of feeling the Lord must have for Indra. But in spite of that, when Indra came and then he also begged forgiveness from the Lord, he forgave him. It's not that he punished him, he killed him, right? Because he ultimately submitted. Now, it's a different thing that, it was just a show. It was just a show because he was afraid. He had committed some offense. And Acharya also mentioned this point that Indra was actually, see, why did he go and beg forgiveness for the Lord? Because he was also afraid. He had some ulterior motive also. He was afraid that if the Lord will actually take away the kingdom, okay, and he did not desire pure devotional service. So he had some ulterior motive why he actually went to the Lord and begged forgiveness from the Lord. See, because what happened immediately after this pastime, now when you consider from the time frame of Indra, it was maybe a few moments or maybe some time after the Govardhan Leela, where Indra again commits offense to Krishna by fighting with him. So when Krishna came to Indraloka, Swargaloka, and when he took away the Parija tree, Indra, he actually, he forgot that just some time ago I had begged forgiveness from the Lord. He forgot that because he was so deeply engrossed in sense enjoyment that he also was willing to go against the Lord. But again, the Lord defeated him, and then again Indra came to his senses and he again begged forgiveness from the Lord. So this is demigod. This is demigod mentality. They are mixed devotees of the Lord. So finally, they will all submit to the Lord's will because they have some portion of the Lord's power, empowerment also.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing that even like a position in management like president and others, they are empowered somehow, and we have to, respect them in spite of, sometimes what happens, like we know some devotee, and they are like we are friendly with them. We know their positive, negative, and all that. Everybody's in a mode of material natures influencing all of us. So, but then they become like in a position. So then we have to, understand that, the bhakti must be very strong that they are given that position, and we have to respect them and forget about all the positive, negative, and stuff that we were seeing before, right?
See, I don't think I would assume that they have very strong bhakti, because I have seen personally witnessed devotees who are in these managerial positions, leaders. It's not necessary that they are really humble and they have very good taste in sadhana, or they have that kind of, or they are following Vaishnava etiquettes. It may be possible for some devotees, but not everyone, not all of them. So I think the position that is given to them is mainly because of their talents, their ability to manage the temple. On that basis, obviously certain standards are required, that they have to follow regulative principles. They should be second initiated also. Probably these standards are required. But is it necessary that anyone who has taken second initiation, they have come to the Brahminical platform? No, because devotees are also conditioned. They are also coming from modes of material nature. So it may take a lot of time for them to actually come to that particular platform, right? So that is why it is also important for leaders to have, I feel it is important for a leader to at least be in the stage of mode of goodness, or at least to deal with the Vaishnavas in a nice way, in a sensitive way. I think this is very important quality. So leaders should be acquainted with at least this quality. I feel that. So I would not say that their bhakti may be very strong, but because of their ability, their desire to serve Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada, see, now there are instances in Srila Prabhupada's pastime where Prabhupada had made one Prabhupada disciple a temple president because of his ability, purely because of his ability. Some devotees, they actually came to know that this temple president is not even chanting 16 rounds. So they came to Srila Prabhupada, they complained about him. And Prabhupada said that, okay, so does it matter? How does it matter? So let him continue. So Prabhupada allowed that devotee to actually continue to take the position of a temple president in spite of knowing that he is not even chanting his 16 rounds after taking initiation. And then there are other instances where Prabhupada actually criticized devotees for not chanting 16 rounds and taking a leadership position. So Prabhupada's, his dealings with devotees was very personal also. So it was not something which was universal. It applies to everyone. One particular Leela of Prabhupada applies to everyone. We cannot do that. It also becomes contextual. So whenever we are thinking of a particular devotee, we are trying to judge some devotee, we have to think in terms of how much the devotee has also pleased Srila Prabhupada. That is very important. From that point of view also we have to think. Because see, if we are pure devotees, we will always think not how much the devotee has pleased me, how much the devotee has pleased the parampara, how much the devotee has rendered service, he has performed. So that devotee may not be ideal in his character and behavior. But if he was very dear to Prabhupada, then that factor also we should consider. So depending on all these circumstances and factors, we have to take a decision. So if that devotee commits some mistake, then we have to consider all these factors. So see, even in our ISKCON movement, a lot of chances are given to devotees who commit mistakes. A lot of chances given to sannyasis, leaders who are committing mistakes. So it's not that one time, two times they will commit mistake and it will become an open forum for everyone to discuss about them. only after committing repeated mistakes, it is brought into limelight, right? Because we also believe in compassion. So if it's not a very grave, serious mistake the devotee has committed, then we give the devotee chance also. But if you something connected to abusing devotee children or having some illicit activity, very grave mistake, then definitely that is not allowed. So depending on different circumstances, we have to act differently. We cannot deal with everyone in the same way. It all depends on how much the devotee has pleased Srila Prabhupada. We have to also consider that. So all the services that the devotee has rendered for Prabhupada's movement, we should also consider that. Yeah, so yeah, and I feel that, I definitely feel that most of the devotees, they are actually performing service based on their nature, based on their traditions also. Because I feel, although we have the element of bhakti in our Krishna consciousness, but there are certain things that we should try to overcome our own nature also. We cannot be in the same concept when we have spent many years in bhakti, because bhakti is transcendental, and modes of material nature, you can see generally it is lying in the varnashram principles. So depending on your gunas, you select a particular ashram and then you render service in that particular ashram. That is okay. But then we have to also transcend certain things. So because bhakti is transcendental, it is not subjected to any material laws and principles. And it is also not subjected to any traditional and values that we carry on from our this particular lifetime. So there are many impressions that we have. We think that bhakti should be in, so like for example, Indian will think bhakti is in a different way. So Indian generally, they are more strict with regulative principles. They are more strict with the principles of deity service and all that. But if you consider the Western devotees, so they are not very strict about these things, and they are quite flexible in certain aspects of bhakti. So we have to also see from a holistic point of view, because Prabhupada, so we have to always think, what Prabhupada has mentioned, what would Prabhupada say? And there are many teachings of Prabhupada. There are also contrary statements of Prabhupada, but obviously it can be reconciled by understanding the context in what Prabhupada said, different things at different times. But we should know how Prabhupada responded to these situations. See, because the tendency is that we try to impose our views on others. In spite of being in the modes of material nature ourselves, we try to impose our views on others. Unless and until we come to a transcendental platform, we cannot really impose our views on others. So transcendental platform means at least we should be on the state of steadiness, nishta, where sufficient anartha nivritti has happened. And not just that, but we have to see things from the perspective of bhakti also, not from the perspective of mode of goodness also. We should transcend mode of goodness also. We should also see from the perspective of bhakti. So there are certain etiquettes that one has to follow in spiritual life. Vaishnava etiquettes are that by dealing with Vaishnavas. So although I may be in a certain mode of passion, or maybe I may be in ignorance or goodness, but then many times it is important to see and to give opinion from the transcendental platform also. So transcendental platform means repeating Guru Sadhu Shastra, means that how would Prabhupada respond to this situation? How would our Gurujan respond to this situation? That is transcendental platform. And that intelligence can only be given to us when we surrender to the Guru. So this is very important, right? We have to always think, when we are guiding others, when we are instructing others, is it coming from our own nature? Is it coming from the modes of material nature? Is it coming from our impressions, our traditions? If it is coming from that, then it's a relative concept. You cannot impose it on others, because everyone is different. They are from different background. But when you repeat Guru Sadhu Shastra, then it becomes transcendental. It becomes absolute. So that can apply to everyone. So there is a subjective way of guiding devotees, and then there's the absolute way of guiding devotees. Generally, Siksha Gurus are the subjective, they will provide a subjective way of guiding. And absolute is done by the Diksha Guru, because generally we do not have a very intimate connection with the Diksha Guru. And generally, role of Diksha Guru is to bestow Diksha mantras. That's the main principle of Diksha Guru. Otherwise, most of the Gyan that we require is actually the function of the Siksha Guru, right? So these things has to be understood properly. In fact, maybe we can have a special session also on Guru Tattva, where we can discuss all these details, the role of Siksha, Diksha Guru, how to choose Siksha Guru, how to choose Diksha Guru, and what are, how are they one and also different at the same time, and how much respect one should give to the Siksha and the Diksha Guru, because generally whenever it comes to Guru, we think first of the Diksha Guru. See, this is Indian mentality again, because Indians think that a sannyasi is generally a Guru, or a renunciate is a Guru, but Grihastha, maybe they are not Gurus, like, they are of a lesser standard, or because so these are different concepts which are there in the mind of devotees because of the modes of material nature. But when we try to understand the principles from Shastra, then we'll actually really understand what is right, what is wrong from the absolute point.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for explaining so nicely. And next time when you take the class, you can give a certain topic, because we do sometimes do discussions other than Srimad Bhagavatam, which are relevant, very relevant actually, and how you made connections of the mode of material nature, and then you were saying that we should not make any judgment, and definitely, because we feel husband wife, like, if you think of it like Vaisheshika Prabhu and his Mataji, they are grihastha, but they're so exalted, so much of distribution they're doing, but like you said, Indian mentality, they'll think of their husband wife, Guru should be like a sannyasi, renounced, and only that person is labeled as Guru. But I was reading that some of the grihasthas are actually more than sannyasis, because they have a wife, but they have to control so much in their life. Sex life have to be controlled. So many things have to be controlled. Like all rules have to be followed. So it's not like they're less.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
This is so what you are saying is also described in Srila Prabhupada's purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela, where Mahaprabhu is having talk with Ramananda Rai, and then there is glorification of Ramananda Rai, and he says that Ramananda Rai is actually, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself admits that Ramananda Rai is actually more than me also. His intensity of devotion is greater than mine also. So obviously that's glorification. But so there is no Advaita Acharya, Nityanand Prabhu, they were all grihasthas. So there is no concept of, so these things has to be understood from Shastra. But it is assumed, generally it is assumed that the sannyasi is definitely more advanced than the grihastha, because sannyasi is a renunciant and he is engaging 24 hours in the service of the Lord. Whereas a grihastha, he has to take care of material responsibilities also. So he will not be able to be honest, a grihastha will not be able to engage 24 hours in service of Lord. He has some ulterior desires, ulterior motives also, and he wants to also have some sense gratification, and that's absolutely okay, because that is the position of a grihastha. That's how we have taken up to grihastha ashram. But then important thing is we purify ourselves over a period of time. So when a grihastha can also become 24 hours engaged in the service of the Lord, provided that he has finished off his responsibilities. So he cannot mix both things together. A grihastha, he has responsibility, that is his prime duty as of now. But later on, so he cannot say that, my wife is a Maya, my children are Maya, and I am supposed to do 24 hours a day service to the Lord. Then he himself is in Maya if he's thinking like that, right? Because why he has accepted responsibility then? So according to the particular ashram and position, we have to act. That is important for a particular devotee, and we accept that we are conditioned and we purify over a period of time. So then some grihastha devotees, they take the role of Guru after many years. It is not that they became Gurus immediately, right? They also got purified over a period of time. They got the taste, and now they are kind of vanaprasthis in one sense, because they are detached from family life. So they are able to engage in the service of Lord. Now at the same time, they are also able to maintain themselves independently, because they have established their business or their job and everything. So they have a side income also, and at the same time they are also taking responsibilities of the temple or being a guru. So these are all different factors. I would definitely suggest devotees and request them that we must have some special topics, because these are very relevant and important to be discussed. So that's why in my YouTube channel also, I have given a lot of classes on the principles of the most essential elements and principles of Krishna consciousness. For example, understanding Guru Tattva, then understanding the Tattva of Krishna's Leelas, then understanding the disappearance of Krishna's Leela, which is a very big topic in itself. Why Krishna disappeared in such a apparently seemingly horrible way. So the entire pastime of the disappearance of the Lord was very horrible. Especially for devotees also, it is very bewildering, unless and until we hear it from Guru Sadhu Shastra. So many topics like that I have already given class on that. It's all there in my YouTube channel. But we can have these special topics also. So see, these aspects of the Bhagavatam, the cosmology aspects, these are good to understand. We should have some idea also about it. Technical details, not so important, but at least we should have some good understanding about the cosmology of the Bhagavatam. So everything about the Bhagavatam is important. But then there are certain things like, for example, to also have discussion about how to avoid offenses to the holy name, how to chant the holy name attentively or sincerely, like that. So these are like, real practical things which can be used in the service. That's why these are very important to be discussed. So we can definitely have special classes.
Yes, Prabhuji, you can come up with, I was thinking that we sometimes have, you can take 2 classes. One is for the Bhagavatam, and then one you can take some topics with us. So that way, we incorporate topics on the weekday. And if that is, like good. I mean, this Guru Tattva thing we can take up, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. I think as of now, I guess that I will only be able to take 1 session a month.
Okay, no problem. That's fine.
So
that's fine. Everybody
maybe I can give on the special topic. We can do on special topics. And
Yes.
but yeah, I will try if it is possible. I'll also try to give Bhagavatam class.
Yesterday was disappearance day or was it appearance day?
So today is the disappearance in India, according to Indian calendar, is the disappearance of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Maybe it is for you tomorrow, or maybe it has already passed.
Sunday. But what happened is somehow, I always look at the calendar and I didn't happen to look, so I didn't fast till noon. So I'm doing the fasting now today for, because I forgot to fast on yesterday, and I heard when I went to the temple, I heard that it was, his disappearance day. So we can do that, right? Sometimes we can do it next day also. And of course, India it's today, so it's okay. Like.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do next day also, no problem. I mean, it happens by mistake sometimes, and we also forget sometimes. So
we fast till midnight. For Ram Navami, we do till noon in the afternoon. So for the disappearance day and appearance day of the acharyas, we do till noon only. I mean, we don't do according to the birthday, right?
Yeah.
We do.
Because yeah. So
what is the relevance?
Because the acharyas, they are Jeev Tattva, so we don't do it for Jeev Tattvas like that, and also for Shakti Tattva of the Lord. So for Radha Ashtami also, and Sita Navami also, we observe it till noon only.
Yes.
So yeah, for the Lord Vishnu Tattvas, we observe fasting until their appearance time. Now it is very interesting. Again, Lord Ramchandra's appearance was actually at the time of noon, right? But Srila Prabhupada, he has mentioned in many letters that we should observe the fasting of Lord Ramchandra similar to that of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. So it should be, we should observe fasting till sunset. That is what Srila Prabhupada wrote. But then practically he demonstrated something else. So when he was with his disciples and it was Ram Navami day, that time he suddenly asked his disciples to have a feast prepared. And that also non-Ekadashi feast. And then he asked them to have, so this was a practical experience. So depending on, see now, this is what, so Prabhupada theoretically is giving something else, practically is doing something else. So these things also should be considered. So we should, yeah.
You mentioned that all the Vishnu Tattvas, we should do fasting. So under Vishnu Tattvas, who all are coming? Who all are coming under Vishnu Tattvas?
So see, Vishnu Tattva also, we have Lord Balram, and then we have Nityananda Prabhu. So we break the fast at noon, because it is said that because we don't know the time of their appearance. So
Okay.
that's why it is broken at noon. And another thing is, so earlier in our Radha Gopinath temple, during the time of the appearance of Lord Narasimhadev, so we were breaking the fast by having regular prasadam, not with Ekadashi prasadam. So now they have started Ekadashi prasadam, but earlier it was non-Ekadashi prasadam. But the thing with fasting, I will tell you, there is a verse quoted in, and I will share that verse also if I find it. But it is said that the advice of Guru, then medicines, then certain other things also. So it is said, taking water, then the medicines, advice of Guru or instructions of Guru. So these things do not break the fasting also. So this is also another thing. Okay. So we have to see, there are injunctions, there are some injunctions and there are contrary injunctions. But we have to reconcile these injunctions, and we have to also see the weightage of the injunctions. So which is more important, which is more higher. So accordingly, we have to follow that. So now if the Guru is asking us to break the fast, then it is also fasting in one sense. It does not break the fasting.
Yes, I
Okay.
understand.
Yeah. So there are,
We need
there are
medicine.
different principles.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So now see, I had a discussion with one of our senior brahmacharis in Radha Gopinath temple, and I asked them why Gopinath temple, whereas the other three temples they are observing Ekadashi prasadam feasting, why we are doing it regular prasadam with grains. So he said that generally when we do Ekadashi prasadam in the evening, next day we have to give feast to the devotees. That is also another principle. That's why in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, we observe fasting till sunset, and after that, till moon rising, and then we break the fast with Ekadashi prasadam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance.
Yes.
And next day we have Jagannath Mishra festival where we are feasting. So there is also another injunction which says that when you are observing fasting, it should also be broken the next day. Then you should have feasting. But because the temple is unable to have feasting program the next day, that's why it is giving regular prasadam after Narasimhadev's appearance. So these are all different, valid principles. So we cannot be fanatic about it. We need to, that's why whatever Guru decides, whatever the authorities decide, so there is some reason behind it. And it has to be backed up also. Obviously, they cannot take any whimsical decisions. It should be backed up with Guru Sadhu Shastra also. Right? But the injunction is sufficient. One injunction is sufficient if the advice of the Guru. Now, if the Guru is bona fide, if he's sincere, if he's advising to break the fast, that is same like not breaking the fast also. That much faith also we should have with the Guru. So one injunction, if you consider one injunction, that it states that one should not disobey the instruction of Guru. That becomes the offense to the holy name, right? To disobey the instruction of the Guru. So if you disobey, like you give more priority to fasting in Ekadashi, and you disobey the Guru's instruction, then you commit offense to the Guru, right? And in fact, from another point of view, you see other sampradayas. In fact, you see in Jagannath Puri, you see in Vallabh Sampradaya, they don't even fast in Ekadashi because they feel that prasadam of the Lord is superior to even fasting of the Lord in Ekadashi. So they give emphasis on consumption of prasadam, regular prasadam also. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in our Sampradaya, he has set a standard. So he has established the principle that during the time of Ekadashi, we should honor Ekadashi. So even if that is, we have Mahaprasad of Jagannath Puri, still we should also honor Ekadashi. So that's how we are actually following that tradition. So these are different injunctions.
Have the grain prasadam next day. That is not a thing, right? Next day can be had.
For what?
Like you said, no, if the grain prasadam some people eat. So suppose we do have grain prasadam or Mahaprasadam comes in the form of grain, we do the Ekadashi and we can have it next day.
Next day, yeah.
And just like
see, we are doing it because we are doing it out of respect of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are following his instructions. We are his followers. So we are following a particular sampradaya rule. Now, another injunction that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also stated that we should not climb on Govardhan. A devotee should not climb on Govardhan. So that applies to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But it's not necessary that other sampradayas, they do not climb on Govardhan. They will walk on, they will climb also on Govardhan. Because in their sampradaya it is allowed. So it may be possible for them.
And
In
when
fact, the Vrajvasis, they easily go and climb and they play also on Govardhan. So Vrajvasis are very special, right?
the Guru can make changes, like you said, na, Guru saying you can have Ekadashi,
Correct.
non-Ekadashi. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada, I was remembering him while he was saying the sentence that, you know, our parampara, they were doing 64 rounds. But
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada made the changes and that is bona fide.
Actually, in fact, it is very interesting to note that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he did not give 16 rounds to Grihasthas. I think it's a misconception. 64 rounds he recommended to sannyasis. But for Grihastha, I think he recommended 32 rounds, like that.
30.
This is what I have heard. So, yeah, so Srila Prabhupada being the founder Acharya, he can adjust principles. So, I mean, he can always minimize, you know, depending on his on the circumstance, he can give that standard. And that's why we have to, although we have instructions by Jiva Goswami, we have instructions by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have instructions by Rup Goswami, we have instructions by Sanatan Goswami. But then it is also very important to filter out these instructions by Srila Prabhupada's instructions. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada said something in a particular situation, and Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Rup Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they may set up a higher standard. But Srila Prabhupada, if he has set a standard, then all the acharyas, they are working through Srila Prabhupada. So we have to respect the current acharya's teachings. We have to follow the current acharya's teachings. We cannot jump like that also. Okay, because all the current acharyas, they have empowered Srila Prabhupada. So the process of implementation of Krishna consciousness has to be understood through Srila Prabhupada. So what does Srila Prabhupada say? So I know, okay, I understand Bhaktivinoda Thakur said this, Jiva Goswami said this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that unless you chant 64 rounds, you are a fallen devotee. So how do I know that I'm actually, then everyone will say ISKCON has all fallen devotees, right? But Srila Prabhupada set a standard, and you know, he has empowered that 16 rounds with 64 rounds quantity. That same rounds, if you chant 16 rounds, it has the empowerment of chanting equivalent of chanting 64 rounds, provided we chant attentively, sincerely, avoiding the offenses. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also stated in another place, Mahaprabhu said that you chant millions of rounds, you cannot even attain the Lord if you are committing aparadh. But if you chant one syllable of Krishna purely, you attain the feet of the Lord. Right? So, see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or any acharya, they will say contrary things also. Why? Because the movement is, it is not Mayavadi movement. It is not oneness. It is not that everyone is one. And that's why all circumstances, only one application is there for everyone. No, because we are individuals, we are different from everyone. That's why contextually we have different implementations of instructions. We cannot expect that one instruction will apply to everyone, to all ashrams, to all devotees, because everyone is a different soul. And that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. That's the beauty of the path of Vaishnavism, because we believe in duality. There is no oneness. So there is oneness in terms of many things, but especially in terms of quality, but there is difference. You know, there is complete difference. So Krishna is Akhila Rasamrit. Now, how can Krishna become Akhil Rasamrit unless and until he has unlimited devotees with unlimited reciprocation and dealings with the devotees? Right? Now, if you and me, we are all the same person, then my existence does not even matter. So there should be only one person. Why there has to be unlimited person if all people, they have the same quality and characteristics of that one person only? Then the existence of all others become irrelevant. So Krishna will not be able to reciprocate unlimitedly, right? See, that's why nature, every devotee has different nature, and they are all different. And unlimited rasa is exchanged with all the devotees by the Lord. This is how he becomes Akhila Rasamrit. So this we have to understand.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much for answering all the questions, and very nice Bhagavatam class also, and so many verses you read. And so we look forward for next class next month, probably in January, right? You will be giving the next class.
Yeah, January. And if you want, what we can do is we can replace that class with a special topic class. Like we can do like that.
The topic, Prabhuji, then, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like what you can do is you can do the Bhagavatam, just the verse, because it's a Nityam Bhagavat Seva. Every day we are trying.
Okay.
Every day, actually, you're doing Monday to Friday, and then Saturday we have general topics, and Sunday we have Bhagavad Gita, the morning.
Okay.
But all 7 everyday chant, everyday study, something is there on the call. But we can do like little bit of reading, and then you can come to that. That's also possible.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that,
no problem. That's
yeah,
fine.
we have
Absolutely.
continuity of some verses are read, because as Srila Prabhupada has told us, Bhagavatam.
So should I select those verses which are relevant to the special topic from the Bhagavatam?
You can do that also, Prabhuji. Yeah.
So I think that will be the best thing. So instead of going systematically, I can choose a verse which is relevant to the special topic class, and then we can continue with that.
That'll be really good. At least we're reading some Bhagavatam words, and then we are discussing on that as per what we need to hear.
Yeah, in fact, I think you also have Chaitanya Charitamrita class, right? In the evening.
No, we just have reading. Just reading is there with few Mataji. Yeah. There's no class, they discuss. And then we have Bhagavad Gita also in the evening, and then morning we have the class is only happening for Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, morning, evening.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's almost 9:10 here, and we have another spiritual and material duties,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
last minute question, comments. Otherwise, we can end the call by saying prayers. There are few people on the call. Okay, so Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Thank you all the devotees for giving me opportunity to serve and sparing your time to hear the class. So hopefully next time we'll connect back again. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to everyone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class. Dandavat Pranam.
Do share the recording with us on the one group, and I will share with the other groups.
Definitely, yeah, sure.
It's good. Prema Rāsa Prabhuji ki jai.
Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.